preach like a whole sermon. I don't know if I can top that. Okay. Who here has a bad habit? I do. Come on, if you don't have your hand up, you're lying, and that's a bad habit. So everybody has their hand up, right? Yeah, cool. So today I want to talk to you about two countries. The Moabites from Moab and the Israelites from Israel, and the bad habits of those people. So the Moabites and the Israelites, they both had some really, really bad habits. They were worshiping false gods. They were, just not being good Christians, right? They weren't following the law. They weren't following the commandments that God had set out for them. But they both reacted to those situations very differently. Because everybody has bad habits, but the difference, the important part, is what you do about it. So they were super different from each other, right? The Moabites had basically been left alone. Anybody ever had a water bottle and you drank half of it and then you left it somewhere and a few days later you found it again and you went to drink some of it and it tasted really, really bad? Because I do that all the time, forgetting that it tastes bad. And that's basically what happened to the Moabites. They sat there for so long that they became stagnant. They weren't flowing, they weren't changing, they weren't being dumped out. So they never got cleaned. There was nothing cleaning them. It was just holding all the bacteria in. All the bad habits were being held in. But the Israelites, they had been dumped out. They had been in slavery, and then they were freed by Moses. Woo, fun, 7 plagues, all that, or however many plagues, whatever. And then, they marched around the desert for 40 years, even though it should have been a 3-day trip. And they went through all of this stuff, right? And they walked around a wall 7 times. And then, they were really tired, but they eventually got where they were going because they were moving and they were changed. They allowed God to move in them, and that is the difference. Because the Moabites were changed. They didn't let God in, but the Israelites did. And that's what made all the difference. And that's where Jeremiah 48:11-12 comes in, which says, yay! From his earliest history, Moab has lived in peace. Never going into exile, he is like the wine that has been allowed to settle. He has not been poured from flask to flask, and he is now fragrant and smooth. But the time is coming soon, says the Lord, when I will send men to pour him from his jar. They will pour him out and then shatter the jar. And I know this verse sounds really intense, but in that passage, God isn't being mean to the Moabites. He's simply trying to help them fulfill their destiny. Because the Israelites, they had been following God. They were happy, they were chill, they were doing a great job, they were living their best life. But the Moabites had been left alone so long that they were just like those water bottles that we ignored for 3 days. They were stagnant, they tasted gross, they were not great people, They weren't doing what they were supposed to. In that passage, God just wants the Moabites to be better than they are. He just wants them to be all that they can be. And the Israelites had changed their bad habits, but he needed the Moabites to also lose their bad habits. And this reminds me of the time in 8th grade when I decided I was going to be on the softball team, right? I was like, that looks pretty easy. It should be pretty easy to throw a ball. I've been watching Marissa do it for my entire childhood. It should be really easy. You just, right? I thought it'd be so simple, so I didn't even do anything to practice at all. I was like, it's gonna come natural. It's gonna be great. No, I was really wrong. So I showed up on the first day of tryouts. I went and had gotten a physical, and I turned in all the paperwork, and I told my mom I was staying after school early and she was staying after school late and she was gonna have to pick me up. And I got all excited. I was like, I'm gonna make the team. Yeah, no. So I went, and first day was okay-ish, Everybody was still kind of new. There were still some new people, and there were people that had been playing their whole lives. And I was like, okay, this is easy. Second day, cool, this is chill. There's a little less new people, but it's gonna be okay, right? I get to the third day, and I was the only new person left, because everybody else had been playing their whole life. They'd been trained, they'd been coached, whichever way they were throwing before had been fixed. And I showed up and was like, yeah, I'm gonna throw a ball. Woo! But we got partnered up, and I was supposed to throw it to a girl across the gym from me, and instead I let go of the ball too early. It went right up and hit me back in the face. Not only did I not make the team, I had a really nice bruise, right? And I was a little disappointed. Just like how I never changed the way I was throwing, and I didn't make the team, I didn't get where I wanted to go, the Moabites had never changed what they were doing, so they couldn't get where they wanted to go. They couldn't get to their destiny because Complacency leads to demise. They didn't change, they didn't move, they weren't flowing, they were a stagnant water bottle, and ultimately it led to them, not getting where they needed to go. Weird back there. We'll live over here now. Cool. So earlier we all agreed that we had bad habits, right? Yeah, we're all good with that. We all know we have bad habits. Yep. Well, like I said, it's what we do with them that matters the most. If we change like the Israelites did, if we change like the girls that made the softball team did, because they had thrown a ball before and realized they were bad at it and fixed it, then we get to Jeremiah 15:19 through 20, which tells us what will happen then. God says, "And I will bring Israel home again to its own land, to feed in the fields of Carmel and Bashan, and to be satisfied once more in the hill country of Ephraim and Gilead. In those days, says the Lord, no sin will be found in Israel or in Judah, for I will forgive the remnant that I preserve." Because the Israelites had allowed God to march them through the desert for 40 years, to pour the water bottle out, to, change them, to run them through all of this stuff, he had weeded out all of their bad habits in that time. He brought new leadership in, he brought Moses, and then he changed it to another leader, and they just kept changing it. And it was this nice switch was helping to weed out all the bad habits, all the destructive habits that they had. So a few months ago, at a meeting of 2020 leadership and state visionaries, God spoke that last passage to me. He brought me to that verse in Jeremiah 15. And this is what he said. Can you pull it back up, Molly? Thanks. So, also give it up for my girl, Molly. She's great. So he brought me to this passage, and I was just reading through it, right? And I read, "I will bring Israel home again." 2020 is going to be a place where the lost are brought home again. They're going to be found again. He said that. He was like, "You need to share this in 2020 eventually," and it just, happened to be today, so that's cool. And this was months ago, in February, right? He brought me to this months ago. And then it goes, skipping down where it goes, "In those days, no sin will be found in Israel or in Judah, for I will forgive the remnant that I preserve." 2020 is going to be a place of forgiveness and healing. It's going to be a place where people come and experience life change in new and fresh ways because God says it's going to be, right? And just like 2020 has that calling, it has this purpose, it has this place we're going to go, it has this destiny and this destination, each one of you does too. I have one, you 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 have one. Doesn't matter if you're in 6th grade or you have not been in 6th grade since you were in 50 years, you have a purpose for your life. God has a purpose and a calling for your life. But the question is, what is holding you back? What bad habits are holding you back from reaching that calling, from reaching where you're trying to go? So I have a few lists of bad habits that you can change. Well, it's like solutions to bad habits. And, they can help you reach your calling. And you can just let God move in these places. Just open yourself up to God in these areas. So you can change how you spend your time. That's the first one. God wants a relationship with you. Maybe the first step to reaching your calling is spending enough time with God to hear him talk to you. When I was in 6th grade, I went to summer camp, and it was the greatest experience of my life. And I was called into missions. I went on my first missions trip in 7th grade the year after. I got my calling reconfirmed in 8th grade, and I went again on a missions trip earlier this August. It's amazing. I know that what I'm doing, I know where I'm going. It's missions, it's my calling, it's what I'm doing. But I only know that because I had a relationship with God. You need to take time to hear from him. Even if you just listen to 3 worship songs a day. Our old youth pastor Mitchell, he challenged us to do that, listen to 3 worship songs every day for a week. It was incredible. I was bopping by the end of the week. I was singing every word, and I wanted to listen to more songs, It was great. You can also try reading just 2 Bible verses a day, Just flip your Bible open to a random place, read 2 verses. There's a verse in the Bible that's literally 2 words long. It's John 11:35. You can read John 11:35 and 36, I don't care. Just read 2 Bible verses a day and understand them. And if you don't understand them, y'all have small group leaders. You're gonna go see them later, so you can ask them. You can get their phone numbers and text them, and they can explain it to you. It's great. They're magic. I mean, like, when I opened my Bible to read this passage that I just preached from, I was like, God, what am I reading? I don't understand this. I had to flip to another part of my Bible to find another scripture that explained it. Like, it doesn't just come natural. Nothing does. Apparently softball doesn't either. But, you know, and you can also just, like I said, you're going to see your small group leaders later. You can ask them, give them your phone numbers, make a group chat. I don't know, just have them text you a devotional every day, like a question about it. We have this student visionary group chat, a leadership group chat, where Michael or Brianna or somebody will text 2 questions about whatever chapter we're reading that day. It doesn't have to be a whole chapter of the Bible. You can read 1 verse and they can ask you questions about it. You can just, even just spending enough time with God to hear him speak, even just reading 1 Bible verse is better than nothing. And maybe that's your first step. The second step is how you show love. Love is made to be this really complex thing. Like, I know like the Greeks had like 8 or something different versions of love. They had like platonic and romantic and all this jazz. No, love's not that complicated, y'all. It's literally just choosing to be kind and show love and be loving and be like Jesus to others. Okay? Like when you came here, you probably had 8 smiling faces going, hey, welcome to 2020, how you doing? What's your name? Here's a stamp. Like, you know, they definitely did that, right? Because I have one too, but it's white off. But, like, you know, it takes that much to show the love of Jesus to someone, right? Like, even just saying hi. Showing love is not complicated, it doesn't have to be. It's doing chores that you know your mom or dad is going to ask you to do before they ask. You know, taking the dog for a walk. It's emptying the dishwasher. It's, you know, it's buying your sister or brother Starbucks. It's texting your friends and going, hey, I was thinking about you. How are you doing? Like, are you doing okay? What's up? Right? It doesn't have to be complicated. You can just, even just like smiling at someone. Everybody turn to your neighbor, just smile at them. I'm gonna call you out if you don't. Yay, you all just showed the love of Jesus to your neighbor. It's okay. I love you. Okay, cool. Well, so it's really that easy. You would just smile at random people on the street. Just don't get like kidnapped or anything, please. Please don't. The next thing you can change is how you forgive, right? The Bible calls us to make up with people. If somebody makes you mad, text them and tell them why, you know? Talk to them. Go, hey, what you said kind of hurt my feelings. Can we fix it? And, you know, if they say no, then that's their deal and they have to deal with that. But if they say yes and y'all talk it out, then, you know, suddenly y'all's friendship is good again. Wouldn't that be a good thing? The Bible says, you know, talk it out, work it out, and once you're good, forget about it. You can't just hold on to grudges. Because if you're mad at somebody, you're not showing them love. Like, I can't be mad at, like, Kenzie, and then be like, I love you, and then turn around and be like, oh my God, I hate her. Like, that's not showing love. Love is all the time. It's not a partial thing. So you can't claim to be doing number 2 while you're still being angry at everybody. That's not cool. The next thing you can change is how you give. And I'm not talking just about money. You know, tithing's important. The Bible says give the first 10% of everything you get. You know, I tithe on every paycheck I get from Chick-fil-A. Ooh, Jesus chicken. But, you know, like, even if you don't have a job, you know, like, I know I was barely old enough to get a job. My brother's not old enough. My sister is definitely not old enough. And there are people younger than her in this youth group who definitely aren't old enough. If y'all aren't making money, if you aren't, like, earning money somewhere, money's not the only thing you can give. It's helpful, you know. Every time you go to Sunday service, they're like, we have the 4 ways to give, and it sounds like a clue game. Because they're like, you can give in the boxes on the wall on your way out. And it just sounds like that's where Mr. Body was murdered. Like, if you don't have money to give your time, bro. Look at the chairs y'all sitting in. I promise you, after you stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down, all service, they're not going to be straight again. You know? Or somebody will come running through here doing a backflip and knock them over. Zach. Cool. You know? Or they'll get hit by a basketball and knocked out of place, you know? Like, chairs don't magically straighten themselves. We have a setup team who comes in and does it every Wednesday. You know, you can volunteer to sign up. You can sign up and volunteer and come in here and straighten chairs. Or you can be like my girl Molly over there and be in charge of putting awesome words on the screen. Because I know y'all don't know all the words to those worship songs, and y'all would be lost without her. Let's be real. Because I don't know all the words to those worship songs. Like, there's so many things you can give up besides just money, giving of your time, you know, helping a friend out. It all ties back to that's how you show love. The next thing you can change is what you consume. And I don't mean like food, you know, you should definitely not eat just candy because then you're all hyper and you probably pass out. But I love good music just as much as everybody. My friends never see me without earbuds in. Like, I'm always listening to something. If you go on your computer on Spotify, you can see what I'm listening to. All the time, right? I'm always listening to something. And, you know, it's not always worship music, but I have to be really careful. Because, you know, if all I'm listening to, if all I'm watching is full of swear words, it's full of disrespecting your parents and disrespecting women and men and being so rude and like stealing from people and shooting people, like, then that's what you're gonna think is okay, you know? You have to go and analyze everything. Everything you listen to, your internet search history, the videos you watch, the music you listen to, and ask yourself if that really glorifies God. Because ultimately, that's what it all comes down to. That's our purpose on earth. Everyone, no matter what your calling is, you are called to glorify God in everything you do, right? Whether it's taking photos, like Abby is over here. What up? Love you. Sorry to call you out. Or it's, you know, putting words on a screen so people can worship. Or it's leading worship, which I could never do. Y'all are amazing for that. But, you know, whatever you do, it just needs to glorify God. You know, some people may be called to be missionaries or pastors. You know, you may be called to go and tell everybody about Jesus and lead in the church. And, you know, maybe you're called to be like Samson and never cut your hair or something like that. You know, like, maybe you're called to do that. Maybe you're called to, like, dedicate your life to the church. But maybe you're called to just be a business leader who makes sure to have ethical business practices and to live their life openly for God. Maybe you're called to be an artist whose beautiful paintings reflect God's beautiful earth that He created. Like, maybe you're supposed to just be a rapper, but you just openly live your life for God. You don't like go around hanging around openly smoking and stuff. You just, you know, you let your Instagram, you let your public profile, you use your platform to glorify God. Like, it's really that easy. Whatever calling God has placed on your life, there are bad habits that you can change to get there. We all have them. Every single one of us. It's not some of y'all, it's in all of us. And so as we head into camp next week, I want to challenge you guys. I want to challenge you to open yourself up to God and see what He's going to do. You know? Right now, you know, or when you go home, or when you go into small groups, just pray like, hey God, what do you want to change in my life? Do it. I'm open to whatever, you know? Every year going into camp, we've done that. We've lost completely changed. Because that's the point. You go to camp and you come back changed. And, you know, it's not about chasing this spiritual high or anything. You know, those are great. But that's not the point of it. It's letting God change you in a new way and in a fresh way. Because you're in a new environment and it's easy. And then bringing that change back here. Because if you just go there, you change, you're like, woo, worship, God is awesome, I'm gonna kneel on the floor. And then you come back and you like don't do any of that, like you just sit in the back row during worship. Like, did you really even go to camp? Did you even experience God? Did any of that happen? Like, the entire point of camp, the entire point of this, of 2020, is you come in and you leave changed. And you take that change out. Church doesn't happen in these four walls, right? It doesn't happen here at the altar, you know. Church is great, but church is a people. Church is the cashier you talk to at Aldi when you're like, hey, why did you come to my church? You know? The church is that homeless guy that you're like, hey, Jesus loves you, let me pray for you. You know? Church is everything you do to show love to people who don't know Jesus, or even those who do know Jesus and they just need a little pick-me-up, you know? church isn't this building, like technically it is a church, but it's really an old farmhouse. Like this thing used to be a horse farm. This isn't a church. Like church is all people in the building. And so, like even if you're not going to camp, the same applies, you know? The same God we experience on the mountain at camp, or in this case in South Carolina, the same God we experience at the altar here, at the altar on Sunday mornings, the same God we experience everywhere is also in your heart. And you can also talk to him whenever you want. It's great. Welcome to my ASMR channel. I don't know. But, you know, like, God can move in you wherever you are, right? You can go home and be sitting in your bed and just be like, yo, God, I'm really having a hard time. Can you just come, like, help me out? And, you know, he will. You know, and you can't always expect God to do exactly what you want. That's not how God works. He just does whatever he wants in his timing. But what you can expect God to do is move if you ask him to. So when we go into small groups in a second, I want you guys to talk to your small group leaders and go, this is one thing I want God to, like, I want to open myself up to God to change, and I think I need to start with this area. And it can be one I listed, or it can be one I didn't list. And then I also want you to talk about one thing you want God to do in your life, one big thing, like think big. Like, I want my house to sell. I want my family to have insurance. I want my mom's medical bills to be completely paid. Like, dream big, but it can also be tiny. Like, I want to have a good day tomorrow. You know, it doesn't matter. But either way, just talk to God about that, talk to your small group leaders, and let them believe with you about that. And then take it out of here. Take it out of here to your houses, to camp, back to camp. If you're not going to camp, take it to your house and back, and just start with small stuff. Also, Andrew, you can come dismiss them.